Okay, so today I'll be doing my speech, my narrative speech. I'm sorry if the camera's not working. I'm attempting this, well, I know I shouldn't apologize, um, Professor Cross, but I'm doing this from a broken laptop, so it may seem like I'm looking up and down, so I probably will be, but here goes nothing. So, how many students here can hold your breath for 30 seconds or even a minute? Visualize the scenario being cognitively conscious and you're not able to breathe on your own. When you're a young college student, sometimes you think it's impossible for you to either lose your life or maybe not even be able to breathe on your own. You never think that a simple day of you working in the yard could turn into a life changing experience for you. When faced with life and death situations, you're sometimes told things will never be the same, but you fight with determination and you will overcome any obstacles. I'll begin my speech by giving you a background on how a life changing situation in my life occurred with me and what was my diagnosis and how I overcame and learned from this experience. First, back in February 2012, my life had changed tremendously. I was basically in a day of cleaning up my backyard, um, of mold in my backyard, on my balcony, and I was smoking at the time. Thank God I'm not a smoker now, but I was a smoker at the time and cleaning my backyard with bleach. Uh, Needless to say, maybe after 2 hours of doing that, I was experiencing shortness of breath. I just took it as maybe because I was smoking, maybe I had another bout of bronchitis, but I pushed it aside and didn't think anything of it. I had a modeling gig later that night. I went to. At the gig, I ended up having to leave early because I couldn't breathe. As on my return home, I collapsed at home and was rushed to the hospital. Um, I went into the hospital and they told me that my lungs were saturating oxygen at 88%. At that time, they were concerned. They gave me breathing treatments. Nothing would help. At that point, I was tired of breathing. Could you ever imagine yourself being tired of breathing? Well, I was. At that point, I didn't care whether I died or lived. I just wanted to stop breathing on my own. It was extremely hard for me. After that, I was immediately rushed to ICU and placed on a breathing machine because I could no longer breathe for my own or on my for myself. Next, the diagnosis comes after 2 weeks of needles, testing, lung function tests, and everything else. I was told that I should go on. Well, no, I was told that I was gonna potentially not survive. Um, my mom and the doctors were sitting there, and I was on a machine. And at that point, the doctor told my mom that I was pretty much dying, that my body was holding on to my carbon dioxide, and that my body was unable to expel this. So this was my diagnosis. I was dying. My body was actually killing itself because of things I had done to myself, like smoking. Um, it was real hard at that point. I was 33 years old and I was dying. All I could do was cry to myself for a point of time. The doctor told me I wouldn't be able to go to school, that I should drop out, I should get on disability. Um, when I was told that, and the doctor said I had so I had a 50-50 chance of survival. At that point, I gave my mom my will and my life insurance information, and I was preparing her for my potential death. But as far as my diagnosis, the doctor said I would not make it. So, what had happened after this? So now it's week 3. I'm still in ICU. At this point, I've had it. I'm done. I don't want to be in there. I've seen 3 elderly patients die while I'm in there. They called me the baby. I was the youngest patient in the ICU unit at 33 years old. All the patients were twice my age, and some even almost 3 times my age. I just thought about me being at school, having my 4.0 GPA, me actually finishing something that I started. I couldn't possibly believe that I was going to be on disability and be able to provide for my son, or even satisfy my thirst for education that I just found. Um, I didn't accept what the doctors were telling me. I decided to go ahead and push through it and fight for my life. I looked at my son and decided that my son shouldn't have to lose his mother at 13 years old, and that I was going to live for the both of us, so I chose to live. From that day forth, I made up my mind that I will now live my life a day at a time. I took the remainder of the semester off, and I came back to school the following semester. Yes, it was a struggle, but I kept going, and I never gave up. I didn't let the doctors um, determine what was going to happen with my life. I learned that, with a lot of changes in your life and circumstances, that, you don't have to accept what others have put before you as the journey for what your life is going to be. I didn't choose to be a mother on disability, and I didn't choose to be a college dropout. I chose to continue my school. You know, so if you learn anything from this, I would say never give up. Keep pushing. We all go through changes and obstacles, and some are harder than most. But at the most point, don't let anyone tell you what you can and cannot do, because I'm proof and testimony that you can. So I will end with, sometimes in life we face challenges, sometimes too bearable to visualize you actually coming out of the situation, but you have to stay strong by not succumbing to the words spoken from a doctor, a teacher, a lawyer, or even family member sometimes. It's never too late to fight to survive. Don't give in to what others think is your destiny, or your beginning, or your end. I chose my destiny, going through being sick, acknowledging my illness, and fighting to overcome it, and not giving up, and pushing through, and continuing with my school. I know I now and will always push forward and never stop. This is my lesson that I've learned from this, and this is why it has been life-changing for me. I now live by a quote I read while in the hospital in a magazine, because it was the time during Black History Month, and there were a lot of quotes by Dr. Martin Luther King, and this is one that stuck to me and read loud and clear. It says, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. Dr. Martin Luther King. Thank you very much.